So nice to be back, and grateful for Shelley for covering for me last Sunday. Shelley and I switched places. They're now out at Cloud Mountain Retreat Center in Washington State. Shelley's leading a retreat with Vance, a good friend of hers and of theirs, and somebody who's come to Come once or twice to teach as well. So let's settle into our practice today by doing the chant, the suffusion with the divine abidings, something we do quite often at Common Ground, a way of beaming out, radiating out goodness in all directions, all the different flavors of love. And often the big obstacle is just our own ingrained or habitual lack of confidence in the goodness in our heart. And it's not like we try to fake it or we're pretending, but we are willing to do the work of remembering a simple truth that this heart has been in the past capable of a real generosity of the heart, a real goodness, benevolence, goodwill, kindness, friendliness. There are a lot of different flavors of this goodness. And it's surprisingly important to be able to keep that goodness in mind. And it's kind of hard because, we tend to notice and trust in a way our aversion, our fear, our anger, our resentment. It's just more juicy than those moments when there is an authentic friendliness or goodness. So even though for some of you, people like myself who feel pretty invested in our resentment and critical minds and judgmental minds, it's really good to do this practice. And even if there is some pushback in our mind or some resistance to doing it or some judgment like we're just faking it, it's almost, I think it was Joseph Goldstein, one of my important teachers, said, it's like a bit of cool water dripping on something that's red hot. You might get a reaction, right? That like when you drop a little water on a hot stove or something. But if that little current of water drip by drip, it will cool down. And it's the same thing if we keep out of confidence, some thread of confidence that this heart right here is capable of being good, generously friendly, open, appreciative, these different expressions of what we normally call love, wholesome, non-specific love, really, even though it might be reignited by remembering the love we have for our pet or for somebody who's really been there for us in our lives. Ultimately, when we check into that quality of goodness, it's really not about that initial or particular relationship. So when we do this chant, which we often do, it's really the Buddha's words, how he taught loving kindness meditation practice, metta practice. It really begins with this movement of confidence in the goodness of our own heart. So let's do that together. And for those who've just joined us, I'll put that link again. It's at the bottom of that document. Now let us make the four boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a mind imbued with compassion. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a mind imbued with gladness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a mind imbued with equanimity. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. And we take our time settling into a sitting posture that the heart really trusts. So some kind of posture that feels rooted or grounded. We're not pretending to be a meditator with our posture. The better attitude is a willingness to be real with the body that's here today, so that the body expresses some kind of comfort and ease, some kind of uprightness that supports alertness and clarity. And we do the best we can, and we let that be good enough, because our body's posture will never be perfect. There will always be some kind of compromise that hopefully is good enough for the purposes of turning inward. And I thought I'd begin our meditation time today with a quote from Ajahn Sumedho, one of the senior teachers in early Buddhism here in the West, one of my teachers. And he wrote, "The sensory realm is a restless realm. Bodies are restless, minds are restless, conditions are changing all the time. If you are caught up in reacting to change, you are just restless." So we make peace with the reality of our body, the reality of our mind, our heart. It's okay, maybe, that things are moving. Maybe there can be a patience, a grounded, kind patience with all this movement we feel in the body now. So we could do a simple body scan to begin, where we just simply receive the different sensations starting at the top of the head. So something simple like even feeling the weight of the hair or any pressure you might feel under the skull. And just inviting any kind of relaxation around that circumference from the forehead to the sides of the head to the back of the head. Just allow things to soften perhaps a little. And any tension around the brow and the temples. And all the muscles around our jaws, allow them to soften a little. The lips, the whole mouth, the nose, the eyes. And just being patient and receptive with the different sensations in the head and face for a moment. And just exploring if it's possible to be present and to be allowing of all these sensations here in the head and in the face. Not needing things to be different. And we bring that same patient presence now to the throat. Not afraid of any movements here, any tension or whatever it is that we feel in the throat. Sides and back of the neck. And both shoulders, tops of the shoulders, shoulder joints. And in a way, we're learning to bathe this patient, mindful presence here. Learning how to be open and relaxed with the awareness in the throat and the shoulders and the neck. And we're just trusting the nature of these sensations to be the way they are. Not in conflict, not in opposition to what we're feeling. Not even trying to fix anything. And we'll take a few moments and we'll open to both arms and both hands, starting by just being open to the obvious touch points in the arms and hands. And more subtle experiences like the bend of the elbows and perhaps the air touching uncovered skin. And feeling the sleeves making contact where they do. The temperature of the hands, cool or warm. Again, just a simple, patient, trusting presence with what's happening, what's being felt in the arms and hands. We have all the time in the world. We're not in a hurry to move on. And when you're ready, we bring the awareness to the upper torso, so the collarbones, the upper part of the rib cage, the lungs and heart, shoulder blades, upper back. And we're learning to be patient as we receive the obvious and then the more subtle sensations here. And again, learning how not to be in conflict with what's being felt. Relaxing and allowing mid-chest and mid-back, solar plexus, diaphragm, down from the kidneys down into the lower back, all the way to the sits bones, lower spine, all the abdominal organs, the muscles here, the groin, and feeling the entire structure of the pelvis, hip sockets, floor of the pelvis, the whole torso together for a few moments. This patient, kindly presence, not afraid to connect and be intimate, sustaining this simple presence with the torso. And then beginning to include both legs, so from the hip sockets into the thighs, whatever's here. The bend of the knees, shins and calves, ankles, heels, bottoms of the feet, sides and tops of the feet, the toes. And then for a few moments, both feet, both legs together. This patient presence with both legs and feet. Again, it's almost as if we're bathing, opening, allowing, not in a hurry, not restless. Even though there may be some restless sensations moving, we can have a real settled presence with any movements that we're aware of. So now the whole body, nothing left out, from the toes to the top of the head, both the front side and the back side, and the sides of the body, inside and outside. And just sensing the body as this open and alive space of sensation. And just exploring a kind of infinite patience here, arising from this trust that this is how the body is right now. And it's so liberating to not be in conflict, not somehow imagine that this isn't how the body's supposed to be. But instead, with this wise patience, there's this capacity to let the body be the way it is right now, moment by moment. Breathing in, open, aware of the whole body. Breathing out, allowing the body to be. And if it's helpful for you, you can even use a phrase like that. So as you feel the breath coming in the body, then just repeat the phrase, something like knowing the body or being intimate with the body. And then as you feel that natural breath going out in the body, allowing the body to be. Something like that. If that kind of phrase supports more intimacy and more continuity of awareness. Breathing in, opening, receiving, aware of the sensations of the whole body. Breathing out, allowing the body to be. This movement of sensation in the body, it doesn't really provide any kind of ground. It's the wisdom that provides the stability. Wisdom understands something very deep and simple. It's like this now. Wisdom doesn't have expectations. It isn't trying to fix things. It's simply understanding this is being known. It's like this. Can this be okay? Yeah, this can be okay because it's already like this now. So the acceptance and the stability really come from relating wisely to the restlessness of sensations that are constantly coming and going, moving. Of course, sometimes the sensations in the body are seemingly more settled and refined. Other times they're more wild and loud, difficult. But sensations, bodily sensations, are always moving, always changing. Can't be grasped, not really personal at all. But it's wisdom that can understand this and not have a problem with the movement of the body, and also, of course, the movement of the thinking mind, the movement of emotion, the movements of sound and sight and other aspects of experience. So call on that wisdom as you breathe in, opening, feeling the whole body, breathing out, allowing the body to be. And we'll continue in silence now for a while. Be willing to begin again and again. We're using the experience of the sitting body, breathing body, as a place to train, to cultivate this patient, unwavering presence, learning how to be intimate with what's ordinary, and then moving beyond what's ordinary into what is more subtle, the changing nature of sensation, the impersonal and unsatisfying nature, because the body and thought and all aspects of our experience keep changing, flowing on and on. Doesn't seem like there's any ground. And this is the unsatisfactory quality that's talked about. So we're practicing as we feel the body present with the sitting body. We cultivate these three perceptions: the changing nature of the sensations that are being felt, the unsatisfying nature, the impersonal nature. We use these three ways of perceiving to become more intimate with the way it is right now, more in alignment with the truth of the moment, the ordinary truth of the moment. So aware of the body sitting, and then more subtly noticing the changing nature of the sensations. That we're not able to govern or manage, control. So in this way it's unsatisfying. And that everything changing, it's really not that personal. It's not like I'm doing all this change. It's just the way it is. Thoughts, emotions come and go, sensations come and go. So we're making this particular effort to be close, to be aligning with the more subtle nature of the body, the bodily experience, and to allow it to be a kind of teacher, just by being open and interested, receptive. So we'll continue for a few more minutes. And as we finish up our sitting time, it's appropriate to appreciate this body, the living dynamic of our body, as one of our primary teachers, and especially an important teacher of patience. And really understanding the limitations, like the body is really some expression of nature. And as we're discovering, nature isn't something that the mind can just dominate. We have to wisely participate and have a lot of patience. So just appreciating our teacher of patience, this body, the nature of sensation moving in the body. And when you're ready, opening the eyes and in a quiet, relaxed way, stretching, moving so that you feel comfortable in your sitting posture. We'll get ready. I'll share some thoughts about patience. One of the 10 paramis. Parami is a Pali word, same as paramita in Sanskrit. So parami or paramita, these are the beautiful qualities of the heart that I've been talking about most of the summer. We're a little bit, I think, beyond halfway now. Starting next week, I'll talk about truthfulness, which is the next of the paramis, but finishing up with patience. And really, I find one of the most practical and useful teachings, really, and teachers, just to be interested, like, how many times, even already today, let alone for the rest of the day, we could just drop in that question. I wonder what patience might look like at this moment. And would that be helpful for me and for all concerned? Just that curiosity. Does patience have anything to add to this moment? What did it inform this moment in a useful way? And I really like that quote I read. Maybe I'll read it again from Ajahn Sumedho, because it really is so true about the world we live in. The sensory realm, which is our ordinary world, is a restless realm. Bodies are restless, minds are restless. The conditions around us are changing all the time. And if we are caught up in reacting to change, then in a sense we become restless. And that's really, a good definition of ignorance. The cause of suffering is the mind getting identified, the knowing mind getting identified with the restlessness of sensation and thought and emotion, the never-ending movement of everything in our world. And when the mind is caught, identified with all that movement, then it feels, we feel, the sense of self feels oppressed, feels dominated by these movements that we can't control. My body's this way and I don't like it. My world is this way and I don't like it. My partner is this way and I don't like it. So when we talk about wise patience, when we talk about patience as one of the 10 beautiful, liberating qualities, right? Because remember the paramis, these 10 qualities of the heart, for those who are new, there's generosity, moral sensitivity, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, resoluteness, equanimity, kindness. So these, I might have missed one, but those are at least 9 of them. And these qualities are the qualities of heart that are sort of the causes and the supports for awakening, for real freedom, not disappearing somewhere, but real freedom here and now when the world is like this, the personality, the body's like this. What does freedom look like in this earthy situation that we find ourselves? That's what we're interested in. So when we learn about these 10 paramis in our lives, we're really learning about it in a real or earthy way, not in some idealistic way, like, oh, I get what patience is, I put it up on this pedestal, and then I beat myself up for being impatient. Like, what good does that do? But, that's often how we relate to it. And ultimately, patience, when we develop it, when we cultivate it, we respect it, we keep it in mind, it becomes more and more natural, more and more effortless even. And so then, even though initially it may be a heavy duty, this keeping patience in mind, it's not that patience in and of itself is a heavy duty. It's that the habit of impatience is so established in the mind that the refraining from being impatient, like not going down that well-worn habit, to refrain from that takes a lot of effort. It's clunky, it's difficult, because it is the habit of our mind to be impatient, especially for some of us. So keep that in mind, that it is hard work developing any of these wholesome qualities. But the work is more often that the opposite quality has been given free rein. And so it's a strong habit in the mind. And now, any way we can, any pragmatic way we can, we're refraining from acting out the opposite of these wholesome qualities and creating a space for the wholesome qualities to get to be cultivated. And mostly the way we cultivate something like patience is we keep it in mind. We're just curious, like I said a few moments ago. Well, what would patience look like here and now? And I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when I last spoke on patience, just to think of it in three ways. There's this gentle perseverance, or this soft forbearance, where we learn that we can just stick with things. Like we have some intelligence about what is skillful, what is trustworthy in terms of how we're showing up in a moment, and what ways of showing up are not trustworthy, like being irritable or complaining, right? So this first kind of gentle forbearance or soft perseverance, it really means like with whatever intelligence we have about how to be skillful right now, moment by moment, that we're going to just stick to that. We're going to be steadfast because we have a sense of what is skillful and what isn't skillful. And we're going to walk our talk. We're going to be steadfast. So that's the first understanding, or you could say the first way that we practice patience, is we remember what's important, or we remember what's skillful and not skillful, and we walk our talk about that. Oh, I don't think this is helping, so I'm going to refrain. So a lot of this first kind of patience is this gentle, persistence around refraining from what's not helping. I don't think this is helping, so I'm just going to refrain. I don't know what to do or what to say right now, but I have a lot of impulses to say and do things I don't really trust will be helpful. So I'm going to patiently, gently, persistently refrain from acting on those impulses that I don't fully trust. And then when an impulse arises that I do trust, I'll be quite happy to let it act get expressed as words or thoughts or actions in the world. But until then, I'm totally able and willing to wait and to pause and to feel the impulses. I'm not repressing them, I'm not in denial, but I don't have to act them out. And this first kind of patience takes this intelligence, this spiritual intelligence about, it's kind of the cumulative learning from our lives about what's wholesome and unwholesome. And in Buddhism, we refer to these as the wholesome roots and the unwholesome roots. So greed, hatred, and delusion are the unwholesome roots. And non-greed, generosity, renunciation, non-hate, kindness, compassion, love, and non-delusion, seeing things as they are the wholesome roots. And so when we're not clear, when things are confusing, we have this powerful, enlivening, liberating capacity to be patient until some kind of wholesome root presents itself, some wholesome way of responding to the moment. Otherwise, we rely on the wholesome way of responding of being patient. Like, I don't know how to be skillful right now, so I'll pause, I'll wait, I'll stay soft and present and connected. And instead of thinking that as some kind of failure, because I don't know what to say or what to do, see that as an enlivened engagement in the moment. Like, I mean, it's so amazing when we run into somebody who actually says, I don't know what to do right now. But I'm okay with that, because I'm pretty, I've done this a lot in life. I'm pretty sure if I stay connected to the moment, don't judge myself for not knowing what to say or do right now, that something that seems skillful will arise. And I'll, with respect, start to act on that impulse that seems wise, helpful, kind. And I don't presume I'm right. I just begin to tentatively express that impulse all along, paying attention, like, is it wise? Is it helpful? Does it contribute? And then if we realize, oh no, I don't think it was as wise as I thought, then we refrain again. Or if it does seem, after some movement expressing that particular impulse, seem really helpful, then maybe we take the hands off the wheel and we just let that impulse freely express itself, because we thoroughly trust it's coming from a good place, it's coming from being connected to the moment, it really seems to be contributing to my own well-being and the well-being of others around me. So that's the first kind of patience. The second kind of patience we learn is really more specific to difficult experience, like just chronic physical pain, which a lot of us experience, or difficult emotional pain, right? And the first thing that really helps this wise endurance with pain, emotional or physical pain, is just normalizing this is how it is for us human beings. Sometimes there's a lot of physical pain. Sometimes there's a lot of emotional pain. Sometimes we feel really betrayed, really insulted or humiliated. Sometimes we feel a lot of shame and a sense of not worth much. This isn't specific to me. I'm not saying the pain ain't real. I'm just saying we're normalizing, we're widening our view. It's almost like we're looking around and we're realizing, oh, other people also feel this kind of pain. I'm in good company. I'm not alone. Finding life difficult in moments is not a unique experience. And it really helps to understand that, because one of the ways that we amplify our suffering, the pain in life, is we begin to narrate a personal story that somehow I'm personally getting screwed, personally getting betrayed, life or God or you are out to get me in some way that isn't fair. So in a way we're adding on to the unavoidable pain in life all of this unnecessary suffering that really is just the result of the stories we tell ourselves about our pain, about the unavoidable pain. And that can be avoided. And that really speaks to this next aspect of patience, this sort of wise endurance with physical pain. And again, we tend to think of it as like just freezing, waiting until the physical or emotional pain goes away. But it's actually a very enlivened and liberating way to be with these places in life where there's a lot of pain. And it's really grounded in this deep wisdom that resentment and reactivity and resistance and anger because of the pain is just not helpful. And that the depth of that wisdom, that anger, resistance, reactivity isn't helpful in this moment, can go very deep. It's a liberating kind of anger. Like when somebody does something really mean to us, and because we're human, we'll feel the impulse to get angry, to want to strike back and get revenge or whatever. But it's so enlivening and liberating to have that wisdom of patience that understand, I don't know much, but I'm pretty sure that getting pulled into this conflict isn't going to help me or anybody. And to just not take the bait. Like, I have every reason to kind of get in this conflict with this person or with this situation, but this liberating wisdom that understands, but I don't have to. If it's not going to help me or anybody, why would I go there? If it's just going to be the cause for endless spinning with the tension, the grip of anger, why would I do that? So when the next time a politician does a stupid thing and acts for their own, benefit instead of the good of the all or the majority, and we really get upset, it may be good to get in the street, it may be good to become politically active, but is it helpful to get angry? And a lot of people, I think we just have to be careful how we use these words like anger. There's definitely a place in life to be strong or to be loud, to be fiercely connected and engaged. But it doesn't have to come from anger. Because anger is sort of this unhelpful rejection of the way it is. But the thing is, like when there's physical, emotional, or any kind of suffering, even like sensing the oppression in the people, other people, or including ourselves, being taken advantage of, the fact is, it's already this way right now. So we have to learn how to let it in. It is already this way. There's already these injustices going on. In the news recently has been just the report of I don't know how many, I think in the 20s, 20 species are now considered permanently extinct on the planet. And, none of these were too much of a surprise, but it's just that sense, like our actions in the world have consequences that will extend forever. And it's true not just in terms of our natural environment on the planet, it's true in our hearts, it's true in our communities. So this should evoke a strong response in our hearts, like, if there's something I can do, I really want to do it. And if there's nothing in this moment for me to do, well, there's nothing in this moment for me to do. But I'm going to learn how to feel what's here in the moment, because it's already here in the moment. And it's unnecessary suffering for that aversive response. No, I can't feel this. I mean, it's understandable when we think I can't feel this, or when it actually, the feeling of the moment, the feeling of the pain is overwhelming. We will flinch. Sometimes it is too much, and we need to do our best to turn away. Even then, we don't have to hate it. Even in those places where I can't hear this now, or I can't feel this now, I need to distract myself. That's totally understandable. That's also being human. When the amount of emotional or physical pain is too much to open to in a balanced way. That's just human common sense to realize this is the time to turn away. But we don't imagine that's a long-term strategy. It's just like right now, I don't have the resources, I don't have the stability to really be with what's here. So I'm going to turn away and find ways to get the stability, to get the supporting causes, so I can actually return to being real, intimate with what's happening in my life, in my world, so I can really show up. This is from, I think I might have mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, Shantideva, an Indian Buddhist monk from, I think, the 9th century, so a long time ago. He wrote a famous text called The Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life. Bodhisattva means someone on their way to awakening. And I'll just read some parts to it. Whatever wholesome deeds, such as venerating the wise ones and generosity that have been amassed over 1,000 eons, all of this will be destroyed in one moment of anger. There is no evil like hatred, and no fortitude like patience. Thus I should strive in various ways to meditate on patience. When we say something like meditate on patience, we're really talking about not just in terms of formal sitting time, but keeping patience in mind. We're contemplating it. We're learning how to keep the value of patience in mind. Even before we fully understand what patience feels like and looks like in our lives, we're curious about what it might feel like and look like in this moment. That's really what he means by meditating on patience. And he goes on, my mind will not experience peace if it fosters painful thoughts of hatred. I shall find no joy or happiness. Unable to sleep, I shall feel settled. And I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Whatever befalls me, I shall not disturb my mental joy. For having been made unhappy, I shall not accomplish what I wish, and my virtues will decline. Why be unhappy about something if it can be remedied? And what is the use of being unhappy about something if it cannot be remedied? The causes of happiness sometimes occur, but the causes for suffering are very many. Without suffering there is no renunciation. Therefore, mind, you should stand firm. There is nothing whatsoever that is not made easier through acquaintance. So through becoming acquainted with small harms, I should learn to patiently accept greater harms. Right? So we learn patience with smaller, simple things, like being a little cold or a little bothered by a mosquito, not when we're overwhelmed. We build up this capacity to be with, to endure the pain that comes with life. So we don't fall into the habit of hating life, thinking that it contributes or reduces the pain. In the last two passages, who has not seen this to be so with trifling sufferings, such as the bites of snakes and insects, feelings of hunger and thirst, and with such minor things as rashes. I should not be impatient with heat or cold, wind or rain, sickness, bondage, and beatings, for if I am, the harm they cause me will increase. And I really do consider that basic human common sense. So there's one last kind of patience I want to talk about this last day that we're reflecting on patience. And it's a more of the wisdom end of patience. In a way, the first two, that gentle forbearance and that ability to be with pain, it's really, that kind of patience is really, I think, an expression of wise compassion. This next kind of patience has more of that coolness of wisdom instead of the warmth of compassion. Right? So all of these wholesome qualities that we've been studying this summer, the paramis, they're really just different aspects of wisdom and compassion. So this part of patience we might refer to as the deeper acceptance of the truth of the moment. Not the truth in some metaphysical way. This is from Joseph Goldstein. Because sometimes we can get confused, almost like there's a shadow here. You know, acceptance of the truth can sound like, oh, I'm just submitting. I'm detached and submitting to the way it is. It's this way. Oh, poor me. The world, causes and conditions are the way that they are. So there's a way of misunderstanding this coming into alignment with the truth of the moment. It's really actually supporting a wise engagement. It's not about disengagement, it's about how to make wise effort. There's no way for us to know what wise effort is unless we have equal parts of that yielding, that receptivity, that patience. So this is from Joseph Goldstein's book, Insight Meditation. It's really an excellent book, written quite a while ago now, but still very useful. And this is the chapter on how to practice. So Joseph writes, without that fire of effort, nothing happens. We simply live out and act out all the old habit patterns of our conditioning. It is extremely difficult to step outside these habits, to discern in a clear, fresh way what is actually occurring, and to make choices based on wisdom rather than on reactive conditioning. But effort alone is not enough. Valuable as this quality is, it can also lead us astray if it is overdeveloped. And then skipping a little bit. Recognizing, often through painful personal experience, the difficulties that come from such striving, expecting mind, many people discard the notion of the goal altogether. This is also a mistake. If we abandon a sense of a goal and become attached to the idea that practice is simply becoming aware and mindful in the moment without any sense of destination, development, or deepening realization, then we lose a source of tremendous energy and inspiration. So now Joseph is going to talk about this balance of effort and patience. The critical balance we need to discover in meditation practice, and indeed all aspects of our life, is the equipoise between effort and surrender. On the surface, these two qualities seem to contradict each other. How can we make effort be purposeful and at the same time surrender to what is happening, to the natural unfolding of our experience? Grasping this paradox is a decisive turning point in coming to understand the whole spiritual journey. I just think that's such an important point. It's like this powerful equipoise between surrender, connecting, this patient acceptance. It's like this now. This is being known. Right? It's always a 1-2 movement, like skill in life. That sort of powerful receptivity, it's like this now. This is being known. Where the heart is really undefended, because if it's defended, we're not able to connect with the moment. If we have an agenda, expectation, we really have to have that raw exposure in a way to the way it is. But it allows for wise effort then to emerge. So he writes, surrender does not mean passive resignation. Rather, it means surrender to the Dharma, to the truth of the moment's experience. Such acceptance enables us to make effort, to arouse energy, but without agitation or grasping. We have a sense of spiritual urgency, while at the same time we soften and surrender to just what is happening in this moment, and then this, and then the next. In the early years of my meditation practice, I would cultivate this quality of surrender by reminding myself that my job on retreat was just to sit and walk, sit and walk, sit and walk, and then to let whatever happened happen. By upholding my side of the effort in this simple way, I was able to surrender to all the ups and downs of practice. There were times that were smooth, easy, and wonderful, and there were times that were full of pain and difficulty. I just kept sitting and walking, and the Dharma, the path, continued to unfold. And this is really, this acceptance of the truth. It doesn't mean we don't have this aspiration to be free, to be wise, to be kind, to take care of ourselves and the whole world. It just means that it begins with this humility, this acceptance of the truth. And sometimes we have to, use like provocative words for ourselves, like, can I submit to this moment? Can I really let this in? What's the underlying feeling here? Am I able to feel what I'm feeling? Is there something I'm not yet able to open to? Something that I'm not yet honestly acknowledging? Something that's here in the body, in the heart and mind, that I'm still maybe in denial, still not feeling safe enough to acknowledge? Well, let me just acknowledge that. I may not be able to open completely, but let me just acknowledge. And then the deepest part of this acceptance of the truth, as we explored a little at the end of the guided meditation today, is, just the sense of the changing, ephemeral, uncertain, ungovernable, unsatisfactory, and impersonal nature of the body, of thought, of our friends, of our families and communities, and of our world. That something we sense when we are patient and steady and curious about the nature of this moment, of any moment, we sense this underlying nature. We use these three ways of perceiving. We perceive the changing, ephemeral nature of the moment, its impersonal and unsatisfactory nature, that no moment, no experience actually ends up satisfying the heart in a long-term way. Have you been satisfied in a way that that satisfaction remained and you're no longer not satisfied? No. We're still hungry for the next experience, hungry for more nice stuff, hungry for less bad stuff. That restlessness is just, in a way, built in to sense this world of sense experience. So being patient, like to really create the space for this insight, right, where the heart is aligning with the truth of the moment, it takes a lot of patience. And we're being patient with exactly what the heart has been reacting to for forever. Like the Buddha talks about this in really provocative terms, a number of lifetimes that cannot be fathomed. We have been trying to have an experience that will satisfy us so we feel safe, like I got it. I got the truth. I've got the nice experience. I've got the distance from bad experience. And I'm finally once and for all safe. I can once and for all put down this restlessness. But we don't find it that way. We don't find that freedom that way. We find it in this patient, clear, wise deepening of understanding about the changing, unsatisfactory, impersonal nature. And the heart naturally lets go, not because I'm telling myself to let go. The letting go comes from this patient alignment with the truth. So this, in a way, is the deepest expression of this patience. And it reminds me of a really fun poem. It's somebody, Daniel Ladinsky's creative interpretation of a poem by Hafiz, a very well-known, famous Sufi poet from around the 13th century, I think. And he translates the title as Tripping Over Joy. And it goes like this: what is the difference between your experience of existence and that of a saint? The saint knows that the spiritual path is a sublime chess game with God, and that the beloved has just made such a fantastic move that the saint is now continually tripping over joy and bursting out in laughter and saying, I surrender. Whereas, my dear, I'm afraid you still think you have 1,000 serious moves. And, as long as we think we have 1,000 serious moves, that's the expectation, that's the thinking that I'm going to control my experience, I'm going to finally get my act together, and finally, once and for all, having got my act together, I'll get my golden reward. And then I'll look down on all the rest of you. But that's not how it works. By this patient, wise presence, everything that needs to get stripped away gets stripped away. All the wrong understandings, that are basically the wrong understandings, somehow think we can get on top of all this restless activity of life and get to some golden place where we're safe. So I'll just end with a little teaching. This is from Ajahn Sushito. And in the handout, one of the resources there is his chapter on patience, so you can read this directly if you want. And he writes, for an achievement that will provide long-lasting nourishment, we have to develop a response to unsatisfactoriness, dukkha. The Buddha's encouragement was that dukkha must be understood. The unsatisfactoriness, inconclusive, never quite fitting, things going wrong, unstable quality has to be understood in order to realize the place where it ceases. In order to understand, we have to stand under that unsatisfactoriness. We don't pole vault over it to a nice bit on the other shore. Instead, we stand under it as it cascades over us. When there is a complete standing under, we feel the quality of that flood. You look to where things touch you, where things are felt. You look at physical pain and what it does to you. You see how, first of all, you wiggle a bit to find a way to soften it. Then you begin to get annoyed by it. Then you get very annoyed by it. Or you remember some harsh words that have been placed at your door. You think, it's not fair that this is happening to me. Not fair that it's going on for so long. Then you think, oh, I give up. But still it hasn't gone. It didn't go because you haven't really given up. You were waiting for it to end. So you've only given up 90%. Eventually it pushes you into a corner, and the only thing you can do is accept its presence and work on your reactions. And that's kind of not maybe a pleasant, but a pretty accurate description of the spiritual path, is we're consciously, willingly letting life corner us over and over and over, whether it's in terms of our partnerships or our relationship with our kids or our relationship with our body or our relationship with our messy and imperfect and unjust world. We let it corner us. And it's in that corner where we realize what needs to let go of, and then the letting go happens. And it just really frees up then how we continue to participate with our families and our friends and our lovers and our world and all its messiness. So I'll leave it here. And, hopefully a lot of you will stay for the small group. I think maybe Shannon is leading that today. And in a moment I'll pass it on to Shannon. But before that, just whether you stay for the small group or you just contemplate this question yourself during the week, or journal about it, or find a good friend to have a conversation with, but just looking at that flavor of freedom that arises out of that patient presence. You really want to learn how to equate being patient with freedom. And in the small group sharing, for example, where in your life have you really seen that enlivened, liberating quality arising because of patience? Where hasn't it worked? Where you thought you were patient, but maybe you were patient 90% instead of 100%. There's still some aversion, still some emphasis on control. So just coming up this week, in case anybody is interested, Cecilia Ramon and I will be leading a retreat this Saturday on resilience. So some meditation time, also some small group and discussion time about how the path of practice really leads to a resilient heart, which seems especially useful at these times. So join us. You can sign up at the Common Ground's public calendar. Of course, many other things to participate in. If you feel part of the community, it's probably a good idea to get on the weekly email. You could just send an email to the center and Gabe Keller-Flores will get you on that weekly email. But if you look under About Us on the website, you'll find a way to sign yourself up to get that once a week email with all the community updates and other informations that are important about being part of the community. So find ways to support the community, to volunteer. One small way to volunteer, we're having an open house for the local community out where our Common Grounds Retreat Center is, near Prairie Farm, Wisconsin. And we're making a big lasagna dinner or lunch for anybody who shows up from the local community. So if you feel like baking some lasagna, it's going to be on the 23rd, so it would mean cooking it 1 or 2 days beforehand, and then we'll bring it out for that open house. We're hoping to get to know some of our local neighbors, including a lot of Amish families that live right in the vicinity. And we've delivered little flyers and put it in the local newspaper. So we're looking forward to that event on the 23rd. Well, thanks everyone.